Now, before I start hacking into my 31-year-old vintage motorcycle subframe, I decided to consult with some of the world's greatest young minds. I asked them to draw me the strongest design for a motorcycle subframe. And guess what? Someone else must have asked the same kid, because he drew me this. But I forgot to mention that it has to look good. I also conducted a poll in the community to get their input on what they thought the weight capacity would be. Well, the next step in my project is to modify the rear subframe to accommodate the ZX10R swing arm and the rear shock. There are a few modifications that need to be completed. One issue is that the battery tray hits the rear shock, meaning I'll have to relocate the battery, modify the battery tray, buy a smaller battery, or all of the above. Time to drill the starting holes for the jigsaw. This would be painful if the undertail wasn't already a mess. Well, let's see how it all worked out. The shock clears the battery tray? Check. Left side of the swing arm clears the battery tray? Check. The right side of the swing arm is different and it doesn't clear. Now I could lift the undertail up, but that will cause interference with the rear shock. I have an idea. The battery tray clears the right side of the swing arm. Check. And that's great. Now, all I have to do is fabricate another one in the distant future. But I must admit, exposing the entire shock looks good. It looks modern. I mean, yeah. Alright, let's tackle the next issue. The rear subframe is getting a bit too cozy with the swing arm. And as for the suspension travel, well, it's a bit of a head scratcher. I'm not sure if it's designed for moon landings or something. Sometimes we zone out like we were back in high school history class. But if you've been paying attention this time, you have seen a rendered picture of the rear subframe's makeover. Next up, removing the undertail. Easy peasy, unless you encounter a stubborn, rusted screw. But hey, nothing a drill can't handle in no time. Damn, this thing's a plastic behemoth. It's heavy and worn out, don't know if I'll use it. And no, I'm not turning this into a banana bike. These are just temporary supports to stabilize the rear subframe while I cut it up. Oh yeah, this is a banana bike. All the cool kids had one, and I didn't. Turning back to the project. I need to determine the arc of the swing arm. The best way to do this is by using a rope and a magic marker. The factory rear subframe lower support square tubing look great, but unfortunately, it won't work here. I need to choose a noticeable line to follow, and the mounting point is our key. I'll continue the straight line to ensure symmetry. It's the little details that make all the difference. Before we begin, let's examine the new square tubing that will replace the old stock one. The new tubing wall is 3.26 millimeters or 1/8 inch thick, compared to the factory tubing, which is 2.11 millimeters or 0.083 inches. This means the new tubing is approximately 54.5% thicker and therefore much stronger, which is needed since there will be more side load force exerted on it. This pains me deeply, but it's time to slice and dice. Also, this lovely piece has corrosion, which is a luminous version of rust. And I have a cold. I plan to follow the contour of the upper rail. The exact distance at the end of the rail isn't critical, as long as it's equal to or greater than the starting point. Test fitting is essential. It's better to cut off too little than too much. And now, I just need to cut along the line. I need to machine a spacer to clear the bottom of the rear tail section, which requires an exact measurement. And it appears that 20 millimeters or 0.787 inches is the target. And here it is, one roughly milled part. Quick test fit and we're good to go for a more precisely machined spacer. 5 minutes of vigorous machining. I have the finished spacer, but that might change as it has many times in the past. A quick test fit and we're moving on to the next step, and that's to fabricate the mounting point out of solid aluminum for the rail. At this time, I want the mounting point to be wider than the spacer, and a visual inspection should suffice. One of these lines marks the cut point, the other the length of the sleeve for added strength. Hold on. Get it? I have no idea why I'm bothering with measurements when my eyeballs are perfectly calibrated for rough cuts. Voila! The rough cut part and no measurements needed. Fits like a glove. That's a half size too small. Everything is on track so far. I just need to make a few adjustments to the connecting end. Okay, the little tweak is done. Time to chop this tube to size. Poof! The bars cut to the right size. Now I actually have to measure something, and it's a real drag. Next, I carefully measured the distances between the two bars to ensure they were evenly spaced. Using a magic marker, I scored the lines, marking the precise locations for modification. Oh yeah, and don't forget to account for the angle at the back. Don't blink, I'll be right back. Well, here's the cut part, perfectly sized with a notch sleeve.
Hey there, awesome people. If you loved this video, or even if you didn't, give it a thumbs up so we know you're still with us. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button so we can spam your inbox with more amazing content. Oh, and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you.
At this time, I'm only going to tack weld everything together, but before I do that, I have to clean up the metal for welding. Nothing pleases me more than tacking parts together because it means the project is progressing. With everything tacked, let's have a look at how it all worked out. This is the untouched right side, and now the modified left side. Yeah, I think it looks great. I believe I have addressed the concerns. The rear side panel doesn't need modification, the lower subframe rail clears the swing arm, and it looks factory. But I'm still not done. I still have to weld support brackets in a few places, probably here and here. And let's get to it. Oh crap. In my excitement, I got ahead of myself and completely forgot to machine the mounting bracket. Thankfully, I realized it before welding the entire assembly. First, we'll use the vise to square off the end and shave off the welds. Remember, this part is sleeve, and the sleeve has a 2 to 3 millimeter U-channel gap between them. Both parts are welded together, and that 2 to 3 millimeter gap is filled. This strengthens the weld, allowing for a stronger and more aesthetic finish. You guessed it, I need to cut and move this rail up another inch. All because the exhaust side of the swing arm is 1 inch higher than this side. Even though it won't be visible, I want to keep things symmetrical. I'll also need to strengthen the area by inserting aluminum plate in between. Let's get to it. Testing the limits. Before welding this frame, I want to push it to what I would consider its limits. I initially asked my wife to participate by sitting on the back of the bike, where she always does, but she kindly declined. So I'm going to have to take matters in my own hands and simulate her weight. Yeah, Baseline measurements. Unloaded height, 43.5 centimeters or 17.3 inches. Square tubing distance, 140.23 millimeters or 5.5 inches. Simulating the load. To simulate the rear passenger, I used batteries and added extra weight, totaling of 81 kilograms or 178 pounds. Pushing it further. And really, why not? To really test the frame's strength, I used a strap to simulate more weight on the subframe. Compressing the shock by 25 millimeters or 1 inch, this added another 102 kilograms or 225 pounds of weight. And now the verdict. With a total simulated weight of 264.45 kilograms or 583 pounds, the luminous square tubing distance only deflected by a tiny 0.10 millimeters. Considering it's mostly held together by tack welds, I'm confident this design can handle the real deal. Let's keep piling on the weight. My next goal is 350 kilograms, which equates to 770 pounds, or, you guessed it, bust. Strapping down a gas cylinder is crucial to avoid any unexpected launches to the moon. Now, I know what you're thinking, but I'm not doing this blind. I'm actually weighing all the components before I place them on the rear subframe. Retraction. My wife explained to me in a soft but very firm voice she only weighs 49 kilograms or 109 pounds. I continuously ratchet the strap to further compress the rear shock by 1 inch to maintain the weight of 102 kilograms or 222 pounds. You know, I've came this far. Now I set my sights on a new goal, 410 kilograms or 900 pounds. Go big or go home? Or should I say, go big or bust? I heard a click or a crack, but definitely it was something. Let's keep going. My weight of 185 pounds has been added to the total, but I still need to step on the rear subframe. And now for the ultimate test. Either this supports my weight or I'll be using my medical card for a case of stupidity. Well now, can't say I'm not pleasantly surprised. But I do have to go change my shorts. In conclusion, the calculation showed that I could load up to 1,500 pounds of weight on the subframe before failure. But that's with a fully welded subframe. This one's only tack welded in most places. At the end, I managed to load up to 455 kilograms or 1,002 pounds. Call me crazy. Now, some viewers are wondering, why am I doing this? Well, this is the original ride height plus 2 inches. As you can see, there are still some issues to address, and in the next video, I'll tackle the foot pegs. There's only finger space, and I have skinny fingers. And that wraps up this video. Remember, always hug your pets. Until next time, take care. Well,